I think I found the right button. So thank you very much, Konrad, for the introduction. Um, yeah, I will introduce myself in a second. First of all, I have a question to all of you. Who of you would call yourself a developer? Okay, almost everybody. That's going to be a challenge for today because I brought a topic with me which I think is a bit overhyped in the last years. And especially developers probably don't like it too much. But well, let's come to that in a second. So who am I? Martin Fischer. I'm working for Neptune Software, and I'm going to pitch our platform for the next 45 minutes to you. No, stay assured, I'm not. Yeah, I've been around in the SAP community since I would say 15 years, rather active. I was working in consulting as an ABAP developer and architect for 15 years, and 2 years ago I joined Neptune Software in the area of product management. And today is also a very special day for me, I must say. It's my 10th anniversary that I visited the first Inside Rec. That was the Inside Rec in Munich back then. Was more or less thanks. By the way, this applause is for the organizers because it's not about me. It's about the people who organize all these cool events. And yeah, there's also a bit of a story behind that. 10 years back, it was more or less a coincidence because there's also tomorrow, I realized this morning, a bigger running event in Munich going on. And I participated there. And I realized on the same weekend, and I was already in the city on that Saturday, there's this SAP Inside Rec happening. I didn't really have a real clue what's happening there, but I thought, okay, there's some non-SAP community members will be present there, and I saw an interesting agenda, and I joined the event, and it was so cool that I became a very regular visitor of Inside Recs in Munich, in Frankfurt, in the Netherlands, in Hamburg, in Barcelona over the years, and also a speaker. And it was very inspiring also to be there. And I mean, I don't need to explain it to you because you are here, you know it. But I think it's also worth to spread the word a bit more because I think these community events are still not that famous, not as famous as they need to be, because here I think we share the real knowledge from our daily work and yeah, also more hands-on experience. And I already today there were so many different presentations about different topics, not only related to hardcore coding, but also to whatever topics which are related to our work, but maybe not in our daily focus. Okay, enough of introduction. As I said, I want to explain to a developer crowd why you should care about no-code, low-code. And it's also a bit of a personal story of myself, of my own shift in mind back in the days when I started to get interested in this topic. And there's also an anecdote about it. I was working for Bridging IT, an IT consulting company back in the days. Was heading the SAP topic area, and all these platforms became more and more popular. And I realized within the company we had the developer, whatever community, and a lot of business folks as well. And the business folks started to adapt the no-code, low-code platforms. And the developer said, "Oh no, leave me alone. I don't want to touch this kind of stuff. There's, well, it's evil." And I thought, okay, maybe it's not the best idea if all developers react the same way, because then we leave it up to the guys who are not really deep into software development and rather uncritical towards what the platforms are doing and what you can do with them. And yeah, I think hopefully everybody knows that we are the real king makers as a developers nowadays, because without software, I think, yeah, almost nothing is working anymore. Germany might be a bit of a different story sometimes, especially if it comes to the public service. But also there, even a fax machine has some software somewhere, I think. But we are also, I mean, we are very privileged to be software developers in the end, but there are also some, I think, challenges for the industry, as the talent shortage, for example. And yeah, one way of addressing this challenge is, I think, to make developers more efficient. Yeah, as I said, I know pitching no-code, low-code platforms to developers is a challenge, and I think often this is also based on bad experience and rather wrong marketing messages. Bad experience because I think all of us saw things happen in the past where so-called whatever citizen developer or key user tools became an issue for the IT organization in the end. And then the IT guys and the developers are called to clean up. And I don't know if you know James Governor from Redmonk, one of the, yeah, I would say more or less famous analyst company in the US. He gave a similar talk at Neptune's Impact Festival two years ago, where he said, yeah, nobody wants to clean up after the puppy. So that's something I think which applies for all of us. And one reason why I say we need to care about these platforms, otherwise they get introduced without asking us, is that. So we need to make sure that the platforms which get introduced are compliant with our government's framework and furthermore, which I will explain later a bit. On the other side, I think these platforms are also there for a good reason. And relating to Thomas Ritter's presentation this morning, where you said, okay, it's all started more or less freestyle, and then it became more and more kind of guided. And I think that's also how ABAP developed the last 15 years, I would say. When I started as an ABAP developer in 27, there was not much like a development framework for the whole ABAP world. In the end, it was more or less freestyle. There were different areas, product areas of SAP where there were some kind of frameworks like the CRM area with Genshinil, I think was it called, or something like that, and others. But there was not the framework for ABAP development, and everybody did its yeah, his or her best guesses in the end and implemented it in a certain way. I think that's why we talk nowadays about getting the core clean. One of the main reasons, because yeah, if you have a team of 20 developers in the end and they all develop in a different way in their style, it never fits together. And one experience over the years I made was that I was working in a bigger custom development project where some guys from back in the days IDS Share were leading the project from a technical perspective, and those guys were quite experienced in product development inside SAP because they were working back earlier in projects like that, and they introduced custom framework for this project, where I really saw the benefits in harmonizing things. In the end, of course, you have less freedom, but your work gets more efficient, and the maintainability of the code gets better because everybody knows why certain methods are called like that and what they are doing if they are part of the framework in the end. And then SAP introduced BOP, which is nowadays, or yeah, with a lot of evolution over the years, became part of RAP, I would say. where we have finally this kind of general ABAP framework for business applications. And I think this is a very big milestone also for the whole ABAP community, because now it's easier to write maintainable code in a similar way. Of course, it comes with less freedom, but in the end, it's also about being more efficient. Yeah, I really like to ski, and I have a comparison there. I mean, free skiing is a lot of fun if you go off piste, but you need to be good, and not everybody is good. And if you are not that skilled, you just end up somewhere, and that's a bit like developers. I assume we are here rather the ones who would call themselves the better educated, because we are taking time off on the weekend and going to an SAP conference and talking about development stuff. So ask my wife, how crazy can you be? But the average developer, and especially if you see the ABAP roots with all that business background which comes in, they are not into software architecture. You need to guide those people, and for those people, a groomed slope is way better than doing it freestyle in the end. There are a lot of benefits there. So I think development frameworks were overdue for the ABAP world. But what has this to do with no code and low code? I personally think no code and low code is adding just another layer of abstraction to the whole software development in the end. And we saw different approaches over the year, how the industry tried to get that work. 15 years back, or even a bit more nowadays, even 20 almost, during my studies, there was a lot of buzz around UML and UML generated coding, model driven architecture and stuff like that. It didn't really work back in the days. But I think the idea of getting meta layer between the coding and the business needs was already there. I think we struggled a bit with getting it to real world, and I think over time that became way better. Same applies, for example, for the business process world, where we have BPM and other languages. BPM and UML are two examples for me where you see that we try to add kind of all the complexity into those models, and then it was not really easier to create these models in the correct syntax anymore, and everybody ran away. And another issue with this kind of platforms in the end and approaches was that if you generated it once, the code was not good in the end and not performant, and you were not really able to maintain it. Either you broke the model if you started to write your code manually, or if you maintained the code manually and somebody pressed again the generation button, all your changes were gone in the end. I think that was a nice try, but it didn't really work back then. So okay, now I said what didn't work. What would be your wish list as an enterprise developer in the end? What we are all. Do you have special features you would like to have on a? I rather like it enterprise development platform with no code, low code capabilities. Any features you would like to have there? Connectors, UI generators, rule generators, engines, rule. Okay, business rule framework plus as an SAP example. Security and authorizations. Pardon me? Workflow engine? Yeah, right. It should be scalable. So source code management, CI/CD stuff, transport. Okay. tracing. There was okay, good. Automated testing. Wow, cool. I'm missing one thing on my list on my script. What about APIs? API integration. Okay, yeah, good, good. Thanks. It's all the things I listed in my notes, by the way, and I think that's a big wish list, and that's also for me. And I'm not talking as a Neptune employee now. That's also for me the challenge of all these platforms. Um, there's a lot of marketing around it, and there are a lot of promises around it. And I think the hard task for the customers in the end is to find out if all these promises are true. If you are, and on the other hand, all these platforms make only sense if they come with all the capabilities you just mentioned, because that's the only way how developers' life get really more efficient. Because if you're struggling with your workflow engine integration because it's not part of the platform and it doesn't fit together in the end, well, what's the sense of having that platform in the end? For sure, there are more things rather optional, but things which are, in my opinion, not optional are the whole code management, versioning, CI/CD, security, especially, and also the integration part. Furthermore, if it comes really to the no-code, low-code part, I'm also quite sure that there needs to be a seamless integration, because the no-code part and the pro code, the real development part. Otherwise, we end in that dead end again. So the second time today that we have a similar picture today. That's also taken from the Cloud Native or from platformengineering.org. You see, if you would like to build this kind of platform yourself, you would end up in configuring and integrating all these different tools. And I think that's something you, or at least end customers, should not try on their own, because I think you can just fail, because if you build that one day, I'm quite sure you need to replace certain components because they are outdated or whatever. So another reason why I think these platforms make definitely sense. And then I see also one big advantage of those platforms, that they can help you to reduce repetitive coding. And of course, nowadays there's a new technology. I don't want to mention it. Most of those platforms nowadays support the new stuff as well. Of course, there's a lot of efficiency you can gain in leveraging this new technology. But try to get a bit off that kind of buzzwords today. But there are also other means already built into these platforms, like whatever, kind of templates which you can use for boilerplate coding, or kind of generators in the end, which give you the boilerplate stuff already, which in the end frees you up of this, kind of boring work of writing the same thing day in, day out. Then you can really concentrate on the real content, or the real, maybe also a bit more tricky stuff you need to implement. This one I already mentioned. I always call this scenario, which I already mentioned with the model-driven approach, the no-code, low-code dead end. That's for me super crucial. Otherwise, I think such a platform has not really, or is not really sustainable for enterprise software. I think there were also a lot of promises in the market over the years that is completely sufficient to create whatever, to enable your business user in the end to create a survey or a form. Of course, this can solve some kind of challenges in a day-to-day job, and but most of the times those kind of small applications become business critical. In the end, we saw that probably a lot over the years with whatever Microsoft Access macros, Excel macros, Lotus Notes databases. I think we all know how this all ended, and you can spend several years in projects where you replace such applications. I had that once. Yeah, but how to ensure the governance we need to have, and governance also means things. If you really want to enable your business to create small applications, I think that's a very crucial topic. To be aware that you need to have data privacy, GDPR in mind. Who has access to which data if they are allowed to build software in the end? Where are they going to develop this kind of stuff? Business user would like to start on production probably because they want to see real data. Better not, I would say. The whole authorization and deployment topics, API management, all this kind of stuff needs to be in place. And that's something an organization needs to be aware of if they really think about a so-called citizen developer approach, in my opinion. You need to make your IT organization ready to execute the governance on these platforms. And that's why I say we as developers need to care about these platforms. Otherwise, somebody introduce them, whatever goes to any cloud provider and his or her credit card data, and finally you have a platform which you need to manage. Might happen in these days. So governance is, I think, a really important topic, and that's also something which needs continuous work to have that in place. Another topic, if we talk about those platforms, of course, they will come with some kind of framework. Otherwise, all these generators and stuff will not work in the end. But you also need to have in mind, is the software, which is in the end somehow built with these platforms, really state of the art? Or do I already start in the beginning of creating kind of legacy software? So also one reason why we as developers need to be involved in these topics and have a look into what people suggest to buy in the end, and maybe look a bit, dig a bit deeper than the shiny UI slides. And furthermore, yeah, I have a special opinion on the term citizen developer. I don't see them as the rescue for the IT departments, which is always running behind and with never-ending backlogs. I think the people who would qualify for a citizen developer. By the way, does everybody understand what citizen developer means? Okay. No? Yes. Okay. Yeah, the people who are qualifying for a so-called citizen developer, these are people who are in the business area and need to have a certain understanding of IT. I usually, in the project I've been in, would call these people whatever, key users or something like that, or the people who define the requirements, or nowadays even product owner. Because I never saw any no-code, low-code platform, and Neptune is no exception there, where you can start from scratch without knowing anything about data models, for example. And you need to have a certain understanding of how software development works. And these people, we already need to get the requirements and the translation between business and IT. So I think this whole citizen developer term is really misleading, and it's a wrong promise in the end. I personally think we need to work closer together, and the platforms can help to get business and IT closer together to create this kind of meta layer where things needs or get visual, for example. That's also a very good thing to have in place to explain the business user how things work, and you're not talking about whatever pages of code. This does not help. But I don't think that the solution is that we make everybody who has knowledge about IT, make them somehow developers. That's not going to solve our efficiency problem or our capacity problems in the end. Yeah, I already mentioned shadow IT without naming it. So all the things we saw in the past with Excel macros, Microsoft Access macros, Lotus Notes is also a famous example for me. We need to be aware, if we don't care about these initiatives in the business area, people will find a way around us in the IT, and they probably introduce platforms which we don't like, and we have to maintain them in the end. So better care about the whole topic. All right. I already mentioned that I think that they are better to work together. Gartner calls it fusion teams. Sorry, sometimes I'm a bit in my product management bubble. It's also pretty related to what we preach with the whole agile methodology. So bring people together, give them the tools which make them more efficient, and I think that will help us to get better results. And outline again, I think the strongest need we have for those platforms is the seamless integration between the no-code and the pro-code tools in the end, that there is a way from no-code to the pro-code side and also back, that we don't have this kind of cut in between where we can't use the other tool anymore because we changed somewhere at a different area something. Okay, so last not least, after preaching to you for half an hour, I think I want to encourage you to have a look to these platforms, maybe try them, get your hands on, make your own experience, and I think there's a lot to discover out there in the market, a lot of different products to experience, and also a lot of different approaches how these platforms tackle certain certain challenges. Furthermore, it's also, I think, more or less a given, of course, depending a bit on the enterprise size, that there I would also say there's not probably a one-fits-all approach possible, because depending on different areas of your business, you might have the need for different ways of integration and different target groups in the end, where it maybe makes even sense to combine different or several of these platforms. Okay, that's it from my side, what I've prepared for today. Are there any questions or remarks? Are you running, Konrad, up all the way up? You need to burn the cake.
Thank you. So low code, I think low code, no code platforms like Neptune and Mendix have been around actually for quite some time. But now with SAP's focus on BTP and all of these different tools, of course, as you know, there's low code, no code is one of the areas heavily being promoted by SAP with their own tools in that regard. I'm just curious, how has that impacted or influenced the way companies like yours approach SAP customers when now we have this different messaging and different tool options and the pushing of BTP focused low code, no code tools?
That's a challenging question to answer. Well, let me take it like this. I mean, of course, we realize way more competition out there because there 3-4 years back there was not really an offering from SAP in that area, at least not on a platform level. There were different tools to which I would call no code or low code. If you look at Fiori Elements, for example. Well, how we are approaching the customers, we try to outline where we see our USPs compared to SAP, which I will not talk here on the whatever on the stage and record it, but we can maybe have a chat later where we see our USPs. Some of them are still there. In some areas, SAP is really catching up. They are not sleeping for sure. As I said, competition is getting harder. That has to be for sure. Has to do for sure also with the predictions of the analysts who say that this is such an important topic. Yeah, I try to give a diplomatic answer here. Our question, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. It was really interesting. So I don't know how to tackle that question. So it's more on how to handle a specific problem, and maybe you can just give more like a general answer to that one. But what I see from now, also with AI again coming in, that a lot of people see software development always from this, oh yeah, we have to build this, right? And a lot of people don't look at and then we have to maintain it for 20 years, right? So how are these low-code, no-code platforms tackling the maintenance aspect? I will give you one example which I experienced myself, maybe to give you some inspiration. Yeah. So I built a Ruby on Rails app for writing test protocols for our team. Just something really small data model. And the biggest effort I had to take is I had to migrate the database twice actually, from SQLite to MySQL and then to Postgres, yeah, because infrastructure changed in the company, right? And then I actually had to move cloud platform 3 times, just because infrastructure in the company changed, right? So how do you tackle this kind of stuff? Because also AI will maybe generate something for you. I know you don't want to talk about AI, but then I'm always like, yeah, but you can't ask AI how then to migrate from PL, to do these kind of migrations. And I think this is such a big part. So how are these platforms tackling the whole life cycles, underlying infrastructure, cloud comes in. How do you do this from an abstraction level? Very difficult question, I know.
I think we also don't have a secret sauce for this. SAP is having the same topics as we are. I think mainly we try as a platform provider in the end to make it easy for our customers and offer tools to migrate in best case automatically their existing code base. If you have breaking changes, and of course we are not building everything from scratch. We are using open source tools. We are relying on third-party frameworks and stuff. Sometimes you have a breaking change, which we also didn't find a solution yet to completely avoid this kind of stuff. Sometimes it's always a decision if this is the right way to go forward with the infrastructure, also in terms of being future-proof, seeing the disruption you will cause with this decision on customer side, and how if we find a way to automate certain things for the customers and ease it, or do we need to tell them, well, now you need to really have a migration project for this kind of stuff. I don't have the real secret to relief here, to be honest. Yeah, it depends. Classical consultant answer. Yeah. No, of course, that's part of our design decisions. And sometimes you're really triggered from external. Just taking as an example, we We support mobile apps using progressive web apps. And don't know if you heard about that with the I think it was the Digital Services Act. Apple first tried to kill progressive web apps within the EU. Well, that were hard 2 weeks to Apple finally decided that they don't break it, because I think there was some political pressure. But yeah, I must be honest, I had some sleepless nights because of that, because we needed to find a way to provide some workarounds for our customers in the end, because they are using our apps in productive environments where they do whatever maintenance of their assets out in the field, for example, and they would have been broken from one day to the other. Hard, hard stuff. So I don't have a real good answer to this question. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what that's why I also rephrase it a bit and say, yeah, we are offering an enterprise development platform with strong no-code, low-code capabilities, because I think that's more the reality. I think it's also good that the marketing buzz around the citizen development decreased a bit.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have a curiosity.
Yeah.
Low code, no code can generate other coding,
yeah,
or can be a service on the platform. My question is, who is the owner of the result? Or, asked in a different way, when I quit the license, will it be dark?
That
so that my ownership was trembling, or can I keep my work and move to some else, to some other place?
I mean, the code remains your property in the end. If you have a runtime which is able to execute, it depends a bit on the platform. But most of the platforms will have their vendor lock, I would say, to be honest, so that you can't run it without the platform. Because I mean, yeah, in the end, it's also business. If you would provide a platform where the people can build the stuff and they don't need it to execute, they maybe get rid of the platform pretty fast after real implementing projects. Our questions.
So thank you very much, Martin.